Hello, everyone. We have made it to the season 2 finale. Today is a pretty fun episode. We have a guest today, someone I've met at Dreamstuff Youth Theatre in Kilkenny, my hometown, and we love it so much. We're going to be having a conversation about the mental toll of acting and things like the human experience in terms of tropes and stories. We are essentially going to be looking at the human experience through the lens of performance, acting, and film. So, Uri, welcome to the Shenanigans with Shreya.
Hello,
Uri.
Shreya. Ambade.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Very good, very good. Love the headset and everything. You're locked in.
I decided it would be better to have this than you hear all the ambiance of the house.
That is fair. Anyways, yeah, welcome to the Challenge with Shreya podcast. Thank you for being here. So we essentially met at Dreamstuff Youth Theatre in Kilkenny, our hometown. And I wanted to ask, how did you get into film and theatre, and how did that all start out for you?
Well, everyone gets involved in film early on these days due to the world around us having hundreds of thousands of films. So I got into film naturally because I heard about young Irish filmmakers in Kilkenny, and young Irish filmmakers bring young people in, as the name suggests, and teaches them how to do film. I got into theatre at a very young age. The first theatre production I was in was my primary school's nativity play. I was King Herod. Had a whole song about that was like the longest in the play about how much I wanted to kill the baby Jesus, which I was like, cool, great,
Nice.
awesome. But then immediately after that, I got into Dreamstuff Youth Theatre in Kilkenny when I went to secondary school. So going from one to the other was natural. And then I met the lovely Shreya Ambade while I was there as well. So, not too bad. But
Very nice.
the
That's how it all
process,
started.
that's how it all started. That's how I came to be. That's my origin story.
Very nice. I feel like I remember when when we first met at youth theatre. I think you'd been there before I had been, because you'd been there longer. And I remember my first impression of you was just you're such a confident, outgoing young person. You know what I mean? And I think theatre in a way does shape us like that we tend to be a bit more out of the box and think that way. So I also wanted to ask that outside of, maybe not even outside of theatre, because theatre is still a storytelling medium, but do you have a specific favorite medium of visual storytelling?
Visual storytelling. I would say animated storytelling is a personal favorite of mine. I have no penchant for it whatsoever. However, anytime I look at an animated feature, I'm always blown away by what I see. Studio Ghibli films are incredible for this. You can get some very
I was going to ask.
very unique perspectives from small indie animated films. Oh, what's that? Oh, the Studio Ghibli art book.
Yeah. Wait, it's my background thing is not letting me show it, but you get the gist. You get the gist.
For our audio
I have it on
listeners,
me.
is clipping through Shreya's green screen at the moment. Love that.
Yeah, but it's a great studio. They're very
Incredible studio,
nice,
yeah.
incredible. Do you have a favorite film of theirs?
Princess Mononoke, without a doubt, my favorite Studio Ghibli film.
Oh, that's on the slightly darker side of I guess, their discography in a way, but it's a beautiful movie. Very beautiful movie. They deal a lot with I'd say underlying themes of war throughout their discography, because I've gone through the book now and a lot of them are just based on planes, and especially at the time it was World War II and things like that. But they've portrayed them so beautifully. Visually is just gorgeous.
I was going to say, I believe Miyazaki, either his father or himself, was a engineer for planes, like aeronautical stuff. So that's why planes feature so heavily in Studio Ghibli films.
Oh yeah, no, he has a really profound interest, because it keeps coming up in the book as well. There was one, I think it's The Valley of the Winds, that's based on an engineer who they have Italian inspiration, and then he's building Japanese airplanes and stuff. And it's one of my favorite movies as of right now, because I watched it recently. But I really love how they tackle so many things. And also, in a way, their scenes, whenever you see a Ghibli movie, it's just the hills and the green and the blue, and the colors just mesh together so well. So it's a very beautiful visual overall. Getting into more in depth about stories and stuff, why do you think that we want stories? What why do audiences need stories, essentially?
Stories are the greatest human invention. I think we probably came up with them before fire, if I were to hazard a guess. But this natural urge we have to make a grandiose tale that has a start, middle, and end is so comforting to us as people, I think, because we crave that in life to have a certified, this is why this story exists. And this is why the story is ending. And we, as people who naturally deal with life and death and don't know what happens later on, we're all very happy that it's like, nope, this is a nice self contained story. And here are all the answers that you can gather as a person. I think, I mean, obviously, there's some parables that they're teaching you morals a lot of the time as well, that come from like the Epic of Gilgamesh being like, hey, living forever would suck actually, and you should prioritize existing now, which is the oldest story we have. Pretty good moral to be taught for the first story ever. But I think that's why we have stories, is to teach us not only morals, but also because we have found such comfort in a well-rounded story that has a start and an end that we can clearly see.
Yeah, exactly. And in a way, it's kind of like you're transporting yourself, and if you're narrating it to a group as well, it's like everyone being transported into this fantastical land. It's your imagination. It's you can feel these emotions that you won't be able to feel maybe in your own life, but you're able to go through like maybe it's heartbreak, maybe it's like excitement, surprise within the story. And as you said, having a well-contained beginning and end and having defining points allow people to connect more in a way, and it becomes this thing where like you're able to live multiple lives in one, lifetime in a way. So yeah, now talking about that, when we think about like, let's say movies or theater productions, for example, they do shape a lot of us in like our likes and dislikes and how we're influenced as people. So do you have a particular film or theater production that like has heavily moved you in that way?
I think the majority of theater productions move me because there's something about being in the same room as an actor who's giving a cathartic performance on stage that just moves. Anytime there's any theater production, I'll probably cry at it if it's well acted. I remember I was in weeps and tears when we were watching a production called Letters from the Front, which had Dreamstuff alumni in it, and it was all about World War One and the Christmas ceasefire, which is the most beautiful moment in human history to me, and I was bawling my eyes out halfway through that. Wasn't particularly like groundbreaking or anything, but I was broken by it. Certain films that move me, I would say anything by David Lynch is a must-have for like emotional resonance with a person, or just there's an underlying like deep like connection to your mind. He has such a way of, because even his first film Eraserhead, even though like you can see like bits of it, it's so spiritual, and there's just grips you. It grips you in the whole. He wraps your mind around something. A lot of the time, you're looking at a film wondering, what the hell is this man trying to convey to me? But you get through it and you're like, that was an experience. He's put something into images and I understand them, but I can't express them.
Very nice. David Lynch, did you say? Because I haven't actually watched any of David's stuff yet, so I'm gonna
Yeah,
note that down for myself.
I love that referring to David Lynch as David, as if you personally are familiar with him. Um,
David, David Lynch is
we
what I
all know
meant.
David, good old David. He's
Cool.
he did Twin Peaks, the original Dune movie, Eraserhead, Blue Velvet, Mulholland Drive, Inland Empire. He's done a few movies like that.
Yeah, I've watched Dune actually. I had never registered that it was like his movie. Watch more
One
of more.
from 1984, I believe.
Okay, I haven't watched that, guys. I take that back. I
That's
did not watch the 1984 one,
it's a weird
but
one. It's a
I
weird
will.
one.
Very nice. Is the 1980s and 1990s like back then? Would that be his era?
I would say, yeah, there's Twin Peaks, I would say, is probably the most influential show of all time for how it revolutionized TV, with the simple premise of this here's a small town, but no, someone's wound up dead. And it turns out, as we uncover the acts of their murder, everything is not as it seems. And he got really experimental with that show, like insanely so. No, the 80s and 90s would be his era, I would say.
Very cool. I will look into that. In terms of like tropes, because you have mentioned tropes in our conversation before, so I wanted to ask, like, is there a specific trope that you really, really like to see on stage or like on screen?
Trope I really like to see on stage or on screen is now see a trope is very difficult to explain because a trope everyone usually assumes is a bad thing because it's like, oh, that's a trope and everyone falls into it. But tropes exist because certain things in writing happen and they work. So that is a trope is not necessarily a bad thing. But a trope I really like to see is a importance on swearing. If a character is swearing just to swear and it adds nothing to anything, why are they swearing? All you're doing is stopping younger people the opportunity to
Mhm.
watch something. A show that does swearing really well is BoJack Horseman, where once every season a character will drop the F-bomb once, and it will
Mhm.
always be an important scene to emphasize that no, we're spending our unallotted swear on this. And I think that's why PG-13s really work from that restriction as well, because they have to only use one, F this, F that. You can only use it once, so it has to be important whenever it's used. And I think that's a trope that I would love to come back because we're just there's been a lot of recent stuff where I'm like, we can just remove the swearing. This is just not noise to fill noise.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's fair. It also kind of limits, as you said, like younger audiences watching it. So it's nice to have only like one or two times that it's said so that people can actually enjoy it and not have to be like, oh, something's been said, you know? I think, as you mentioned earlier as well, when we kind of recognize a pattern in something, we tend to connect to it more as well. So in a way, tropes they allow us to kind of predict what might happen if the story is going a certain way that we've seen all the time, which is quite nice, I guess, because it makes us feel safe enough to like connect and then enjoy it a bit more. Because I know people have like their favorite tropes that they stick to a particular like genre of movie, things like that. Do you have a particular like genre of stories that you like to stick to?
Stories I like to stick to are always character driven stories
Mhm.
or historical driven stories, even if they're not accurate. It's really nice to have a setting where everything has this semblance of reality to it. A good example of this would be The Society of the Snow, I believe it's called, which is a film all about people from Uruguay that like crash land in like the mountain range in the Andes in South America. It's a very brutal film. There's like one part in it where because you expect the narrator to live through it, but eventually the narrator also reveals spoilers for this movie that came out in 2022, by the way, that the narrator is also dead. And it creates this whole thing because the narrator is like, and this is where I die, because you assume that the narrator is going to live, but it's nice that in like historical films that when a character dies, it's important. You know, it's not like, I wonder if this guy lives. Like, no, he has to die. So it like sort of transcends falling into tropes or writing, because I love when writers have restrictions. It's really good when writers have restrictions. So with like historical films, it's good for that to happen. Character driven films are really good as well because at the end of the day, spectacle is all well nice, but a story is about these made up characters. And if you can make these characters feel deep, then or make them seem like they have depth to them, then I'm far more invested in their story. Wes Anderson does this a lot with his movies. A lot of them are character driven and character studies, and those are really good films for the most part. He's fallen off a little bit in recent years, but he was very good at it back in the day. But so no, those would be my favorite genres to have.
Oh, very nice. When you said Wes Anderson, I just thought of like you know, the trend on Instagram that happened, I'd say last year, which is like the editing style of his films. Kind of just towards the last year, it kind of popped off that way. But in terms of genres, when you mentioned like history, I was thinking of there's this show that I watched called Timeless. So I had a phase when I used to watch a lot of like time travel, but I used to love it when it was like between history and the future and stuff. And this specific show, they used to show like real life events that happened in history, and there was like a bad guy who was trying to change certain important things, like, you know, the Nuremberg rallies or like the assassination of Abraham Lincoln and things like that. But obviously they have to happen for our present world to exist. But it was such
Yeah.
an interesting show because like you're learning a lot about what happened in the past, but also like the characters hated certain people in the past and they had to be in the same room as them. And it was really interesting seeing like the duality of having to deal with this, like, do I actually let this person, you know, continue
Get
doing what they're
away,
doing, or
yeah.
do I, yeah, get away? But it was a really lovely show, and it's one of my favorites. So yeah, Timeless, everyone, if you're ever interested in like a
Shout
time
out from the
travel.
Shenanigans with Shreya podcast. Timeless.
Timeless, yeah, I think it's on Amazon Prime actually. Yeah, I wanted to talk about like, because you mentioned, I guess historical things tend to be slightly on the heavier side of filmmaking and acting. When you when you act, how do you kind of approach acting emotionally or being part of a film from the emotional perspective?
Well, what I would recommend to any actors at all whenever they are trying to look at depth and emotion is to never method act, because that is signaling to a lot of people that you are a bad actor. Now, listen, it was great when Daniel Day-Lewis did it. However, could you imagine being on a set where some guy is being miserable for the whole thing? Don't do that. So if you're going to act emotionally, you have to create this disconnect between yourself and your character. You have to imagine your character as sort of being a suit that you go into. It's like if you wear different clothes, you're not going to feel different, but you might act different, or you might carry yourself a little bit different based on, like, I'm wearing a belt now or this. Like, you have to do the same when you get into a character. Put on, like, an accent, a physical form. Kurosawa, who made Seven Samurai and a whole bunch of other pivotal films, one of his directions was if someone was ever acting as a character in a movie, that they should have one, like, physicality that the character would do throughout the film. So at least that the audience, who are the main people here, because for acting, you're not acting for yourself, you're acting for people. So you need to perform. Like, he would have one guy always like rolling his shoulder back, so people would be like, that's that guy, because physicality is huge. With theater, you have to be so much larger than you are in film, because film gets right up on you and you can capture all that subtlety. So if you're acting emotionally, you have to look at depth that comes from within, because again, you're acting. Like, you don't, if I tell you that I've just shot you in the leg, you don't have to have actually been shot in the leg in your life to convey that you are in pain. You can yell, you can scream. Again, it's very hard to direct acting when I haven't like actually like gone into the depth of like studying it, so I can't articulate this perfectly. But when you're acting, there's this whole ethos of just like, oh no, that guy's acting, he can do whatever he wants to get into character. No, don't do that. You're, forgive my French, an asshole if you feel like you can treat anyone however you want to treat them because you're getting into character. If you're getting into character and you're going for an emotional scene and you feel like it's going to take you a while, because that's really it, because you just need to get into the headspace of a character, and sometimes that can be emotionally draining. Tell people, hey, give me like 5 minutes. Ask the director, whoever's like in charge of your production, go up to them and be like, hey, I'm going to be like 5 minutes. I'll be right back. I'm trying to get into a headspace. A director is there to assist you. A director is not going to hear a suggestion and be like, a director may not agree with a direction you're going in, but they will understand that you have a process at some point if you convey that to them. And that's the main thing. Communicate with the people who are making a production, because if you go to them, hey, I'm trying to do this and it's going to take me a while to get there, be like, okay, I'm going to work on this, you take your time. Or there's some people who are really gifted who just snap into character, and those people are incredible. But with emotional depth, it's a pivotal thing that you are separate yourself from the character, and it can be emotionally draining even when you do that. If I tell you to act like a sad character for like multiple days of production, that's going to have a mental toll on you. If I tell you, hey, imagine I've just done this and this, then acting that, you're going to take on mannerism. So it is good. I would recommend anyone who's getting into acting that way to consciously make the choice, the same choice that you are when you're acting, as if like, I'm going to be sad now. After you're done acting or you have a moment alone, go, I'm going to be myself now. And when you're yourself, or at least the version of you want to be, and you want other people, to register you as, to step into that role and take on that role, to separate them. Even if it is now another role for you, you should separate those roles so that you understand which is what.
Yeah, that was really well said, actually, because like multiple points in that I was going to ask you about in terms of like, how does one get oneself out of the emotionless or like heaviness of a character when they're performing? What's like a step or a technique that someone could use essentially?
For getting into character, it is nice to have mannerisms or just mental checks in your head. Because again, people are very different, so my advice is not going to ring true for everyone. But if you're playing a character and you're an angry character, you're a general, let's say, and you're yelling at people all day. Afterwards, like when the director says cut, or you're on stage and like, okay, that's a wrap on that scene, go up to the actors and like convey to them, hey, like, I'm sorry I yelled at you. Apologize for whatever you did, even if like it was a good scene. Check with them, be like, hey, was that good? Do you think that? So there's an immediate disconnect between you and your character, because you have to, if you make that disconnect for other people, you make that disconnect for yourself, because if you don't make that disconnect, actors are going to look at you like, that's the guy that yelled at me for 5 hours that other day. It's like, and it's not gonna register for you for a while, but as an actor, if people look at you like, that's the angry guy, that's gonna reflect on you. So clarify with people around you who see you as your character. Tell them, that's not me. I'm looking for creative criticism here. But if you're so engrossed or in a character, then have like things that can calm you down. Read a book. That's going to be one of my major things. Read a book so that you can get
Yeah.
lost in another world and you can understand a different characters' point of views, because when you pull yourself out of that book, most likely you're going to have forgotten that you were in another character. Because again, don't method act. Don't do it. The moment someone says cut, you are not acting anymore. No one wants you to do that. So watch a movie, read a book, just listen to someone else talk and fall into like a natural conversation with someone, because that'll
Mhm.
separate you from the character that you've put on. So that would be my advice for that.
Yeah, lovely. And also, I've seen a lot of like behind the scenes of TV shows and movies, and a lot of people do tend to have books with them. And I think that's a thing that a lot of like actors use essentially just to have some hobby or something to do in between takes as well to like rest and reset essentially. And I also like that you're not really an advocate for method acting, because there has been a bit of criticism on that method essentially because you're putting your entire body in this like stress response the whole time for like days and months. It can be in for like longer productions and stuff. So it's not exactly the healthiest mindset to be in either if you're like continuously just putting your body under that. So yes,
Not at all, no.
take rest, snap out of it. It's not the end of the world if you're not going to be in this character for like longer than, 5 or 6 hours. But yeah, and I actually want to ask you as well, because I know you're really interested in films. So is there a specific role within a production, like whether it's direction or acting, that you're specifically drawn to, or do you like them all?
Do not feel like I am a good director. Now, this is probably just a bit of imposter syndrome of you thinking that you're not good. Word of advice for all the audio listeners out there: if you don't feel you're good at something, I promise you you're great at it and that you will excel if you put your mind to something. I promise you that. However, that being said, hypocrite here. I don't think I'm a good director. However, time I am on a film production in college because I'm studying film at the moment, and we get to the creative stage, everyone, whenever we're assigning roles and we get to the director role, they go, Andrew is the director. And I go, why do I have to be the director? Maybe I'd like to do something else. And word of advice, if you want to do something else, people should allow you to do something else. However, everyone's like, no, you're a good director, direct for this. So I'm drawn to directing. I've also been told I'm a good actor. Don't feel that. However, even if you don't feel
Great
something,
actor, guys.
wished. There's bias here. Iueri Prendergast, prestigious actor on the Shreya Shenanigans podcast. No.
So like the thumbnail, just like
That's
the phrase.
this is the this is the phrase
Yeah.
of this. Again, I don't feel it. However, if someone tells me repeatedly, or multiple people tell me repeatedly, you're good at that, I should put my confidence aside for a moment and be like, okay, people like what I'm doing. I don't like what I'm doing. However, if everyone says I'm doing good, I should probably just keep doing that. Like, put your biased mind aside for a moment and be like, I think I should do this. Don't worry if it's, I don't like that, or maybe that. Just go for it. Just do it, and people will tell you if it's wrong. They're like, maybe you should try something else, because people love criticizing people. God, we love criticizing people. People love pointing things out to other people. But I'm drawn to direction and cinematography because looking at film is a visual art form. Dialogue, most people hate writing dialogue and writing character dialogue. That's not everyone, again, exceptionalism. But looking at pictures on a screen is the main thing I'm coming to look at a film for. If a film doesn't look interesting, I'm switching it off most of the time. So I'm drawn to making things look good, making actors feel like they fit in the frame, and I like acting, so I usually give pretty good directions, I'm told, but that's biased.
Hey, that's great to hear. And I think like if there's multiple people, especially with acting, because I know you from like the more acting perspective, I think you're a great actor, and I know a lot of people think so. So you're right in saying that like if maybe we might not feel that way, but it is nice if there's multiple people that like are telling you something that, hey, maybe there's some truth to that. So yeah, well done on the whole direction and acting as of right now. Is there a specific like, project that you're working on, or is your favorite from what you've done so far?
Currently, I'm in the post-production stage of a short film. I don't know what the legal matter behind this is. Doesn't matter. It's a first-year short film from college. I don't think anyone's going to sue me on an indie podcast, but I'm working post-production editing mainly at the moment on a film called Erstwhile, which is starring a hit Seafall band member, Mikey, who was on this podcast
Oh my
previously.
God.
He was very
Love
good
Mikey.
in it. It's a character study. I love character studies. It's about
Yeah.
5 minutes of these two people's 2-year relationship that you see purely from the perspective of the room that one of them is staying in. So you see them like come in discussing events that happened there's like, oh, we just went out doing this, and now they come in and they go through that and they like digest everything that's happening, and we slowly see them become closer and closer friends, and look at the silences that they not the silences, silence is the wrong word because there's never any silence, and like the quiet moments, which is the moments in between being loud and being silent. So we look at the quiet moments that they have together and their friendships highs and lows. It's a lot of highs and a bit of lows. Conflict in films is
Mhm.
necessary. Not everything's happy. I wanted it to be, but we're told to add conflict, so now we have conflict. Mikey does a
Yeah.
great performance in it. My friend Zoe Bell, she does an incredible performance in it. Everyone that cast and set did incredible. Theo and Christian, you're getting your shout out here. They were great for camera and sound, and I was director, and it was nice. It was a very nice production, and it's not finished yet, but I
Mhm.
am confident that it will turn out well because I have a great assortment of people supporting us behind it.
Oh, that's lovely. Is there going to be like a screening that one could attend for this or just see it somewhere, you know?
Shreya Amada, your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea what the
That
process
is
for
fair.
afterwards is. We're
Mhm.
told to not put it on YouTube. We're told to submit it to film
Mhm.
festivals. That is it. If it does well, you're coming to a
Mhm.
film festival. That's all.
Yay. Or you could
Yippee.
like show it to us at youth theater or something, because I think everyone would love to see,
Probably could. Yeah,
talk.
probably could. As long as I don't
Which
show
is
it
fun.
anywhere.
Yeah, yeah. But that's exciting, like having, I guess, submissions to film festivals and stuff. And that's essentially the part that's like after you release the film that's going to be put out to different areas. And yeah, I think the whole field of just film and acting, it's so exciting. You know what I mean? There's so much happening. There's so many stories to be portrayed. It's a wonderful creative field to be in. So I'm really excited for you and your journey actually in
Thank you
this
very
like
much.
longevity wise. So yeah, good luck. And I wanted to have a bit of a rapid fire round with you now, if that's
Oh, go
okay.
for it.
So
Absolutely.
first thing that comes to mind, don't think too much about it. So which film trope are you sick of that you've had
I
enough of, essentially?
am sick of well, that just happened. I'm sick and tired of Marvelisms. Get rid of cringy Marvel dialogue. It doesn't work. It makes the audience hate you. Stop it. That's
Mhm.
my first.
That's fair. The first movie or theater production that made you realize I have to do this. I want to be part of this industry.
When I watched The Prince of Egypt by DreamWorks, I understood that there was so much depth that you can like was not religious at all, but I was there for the spectacle of that movie. And then shortly afterwards, I'm not sure why, I was like 12, I watched Lawrence of Arabia afterwards. Lawrence of Arabia is a huge epic movie, and I was like, oh
Mhm.
my god, I need to convey stuff like this in the future. This is incredible.
Amazing. And you are, so well done. What is one movie scene that makes you cry every time?
A movie scene that makes me cry every time I watch it. You have to understand, I am a cinephile. I watch so many movies. I would say this is going to be a really stupid one, but in Harry Potter 4, when like it's because it's contrasted by really good acting, really bad acting. When spoilers for this 20-year-old film, Cedric Diggory dies, and his father like comes out and says, my boy," is like that breaks me. And then Daniel Radcliffe, great actor, probably his lowest moment where he just goes, "He's back," makes me laugh as well. So I get a good high and low there, contrasted by because he sounds really
Nice.
bratty for some reason. It was like that's the best take you had, but anyway.
Funny. I'm probably gonna like rewatch that movie now just and I'm gonna remember this. So yeah. If your life was a movie, who is composing the score?
Who's composing the score? Well, because he offered to do the score for the recent film I did, but it's probably not because we have to have that done in 2 weeks. I'm having Mikey from the hit band Seafall composing the music for my
Ooh.
movie.
Very cool, very cool. What's one thing you'd suggest to do to shake off a character before you get home? Like after you're done filming?
I would recommend having your favorite song, or no, not your favorite song, a song you bop to, that you absolutely vibe to. Have some white girl music, like in your car, like on your
Yeah.
headphones, bop in your head to it.
Mhm.
Make sure it's a song that you have a memory with, that you have a haptic experience with, that you can feel what's going
Mhm.
on and bring you back into your skin. Have that going.
What is that song for you? Do you have like a playlist or an album?
That song for me would probably um be, oh god, it's by the Struts. Why am I blanking on it now? Oh no, it's gonna irk me for the rest of the day. But it's like the most popular Strut song of like I want to feel love and pain, pride and shame. That one, I can't remember its name right now. It's killing me.
That's okay. We'll look it up after because I can't find it either. But no worries, no worries. What is one sentence of advice for your younger self who just started youth theater that you'd like to say?
Advice for my younger self. Hey, Uri, hand on shoulder. It's me, you from the future. Talk
Mm.
to people. Talk to people. Believe that every single person you see on the street has their own story and their own life. Not people you say hello to. Every single person you walk by has their own story. Say hello to a complete stranger as much as possible if they look like they're willing to have a hello. If someone looks really sad, maybe offer like a, "Hi, are you feeling all right?" Talk to
Hmm.
people. You will be blown away by the stories you learn. And you don't have to see them again. You just need to talk with them. I remember one of the best conversations I've ever had was a stranger on a bus. Not a stranger anymore because I said hello to her. And now I had a conversation with an 80-year-old woman that's at the forefront of my mind sometimes.
Aw.
Think about that.
No, it's so true though. It's like those conversations are the best, the ones that you have just like randomly on the street. Literally 2 days ago, I was just walking back from a park and this lovely grandpa-aged guy just stopped me. He was like, "Oh my God, it's a lovely day today. How are you finding Sheffield?" And we just had like a good conversation. And it's just so wholesome when you see like it tends to happen with older people, I think, because they don't have like earphones a lot of the time. So they're just like willing to have conversations a lot of the time. But yeah, we love to see it. If you could manifest one role or one story to tell before 2030, what would it be for you?
Okay,
It's a big question,
I
I know.
mean, it's kind of cheating because these are both in like production at the moment, but Brandon Sanderson is like 50% of the
Mhm.
way through writing the script for Mistborn Book 1, or maybe the whole trilogy. I don't know how he's writing it. I'm manifesting that one so that when it
Whoa.
definitely does get
Mhm.
made, I can claim credit for it. Same with the Red Rising trilogy book series. I'm manifesting that to be a TV show because it's already in production. One that has not been made yet that I am going to manifest is a proper Wuthering Heights adaptation. I want this book to be properly adapted at some point. It's a really
Nice.
good book. I would like it to
Mhm.
be like properly told. I feel like there's so many
Mhm.
stories that need to be told. I don't think there's like any major like Irish, because for audio listeners, I don't think I've mentioned this yet. Actually, I am Irish. I probably don't sound it, but I am. There's not been like a huge amount of like Irish films that have like garnered universal appeal. I would really like a horror movie based on a banshee. I would really like that because the banshee is
Oh.
such an iconic monster, but it doesn't have a universal film adaptation. I'm going with multiple answers. I know this is cheating. Bram
Mhm.
Stoker, the guy who made Dracula, also wrote the first like major mummy story, which was Jewel of the Seven Stars, I believe. That's never been adapted, I don't think. And I
Mhm.
would like someone to adapt that story, or at least to make a mummy story based off that, because I know there's a lot of mummy stories that are coming out now, but I would really like something like that, or a banshee story. Those are my options, but I'm cheating, so that's
Very cool. Also, this is like a really random side tangent at the moment, but you mentioned that you might not like sound Irish. So do you know why your accent might not be the typical, I guess, Irish accent?
absolutely. It's because I have an adaptive accent, which means if I speak to someone for long enough in person, I will take on their accent. And the reason it
Mhm.
defaults to American is if I'm in a crowd of people usually, and my voice just, I don't know why. Because Americans have come up to me and said that I sound like Australian, which is wrong. People like from England have said
Mhm.
that I sound Scottish, wrong. People from Scotland have said I sound Welsh. I'm from everywhere apparently. I was confused for a Roman at one stage, not Italian, a Roman,
Mhm.
which I was
Wow.
confused with that. I'm a pale man. I'm a very
Incredible.
pale man. And so I have an adaptive
Mhm.
accent. It probably comes from all the time I spent on the internet as a child, but that's also not a good excuse because I live out in the Irish countryside. I'm a farmer. Everyone in my family are farmers. I've interacted with them for my whole life. I've never spoken to people from abroad with like distinct accents until I was like 12, I want to say. So I don't
Mhm.
know why I have this. However, I can do accents very well now, depending on what I'm speaking. So that's a plus. No, I just have an adaptive accent. That's the reason why.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I do think like American TV and film have influenced a lot of it because it's kind of the same with me where I was moving a lot as a child and my accent just got lost into like all the YouTube and like I guess screen time I was having at the time, and it just latched onto a default American-esque accent. But again, it depends on like who I'm talking to and where I am, and certain words will become stronger and there'll be certain emphasis on certain syllables and stuff. But yeah, a mixed adaptive accent. We love to see it. It does make, I think, recreating accents a bit easier when you're able to like
Yeah, with
do
my German
an American
accent,
one.
it's pretty good, yeah. So I can
Yeah.
do that a little bit. Mein Aussprache ist sehr gut.
Sehr gut.
Sehr
Sehr gut. I'm on the German grind at the moment, but I'm only like a month in, so we're getting there. We're getting there. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Uri. It was so fun having you. Do you have
Pleasure to
any
be.
final words?
Final words to anyone listening to this podcast right now, and Shreya, you can take this advice yourself. Put yourself out there. Do what you feel like you can do as best you can. That is so vague, yet I cannot emphasize that when an opportunity presents itself in front of you, leap on it, because most of the time you do not jump or go looking for opportunities. You might think you do. Promise you don't. Do it as hard as you think you can. Jump at opportunities when you see them. You won't get them that often. I promise you that.
Aw, that was lovely. Such wise words, Uri. Such wise words. Where do you get your wisdom from?
I was a very well-read child, and I still am very well-read. I read philosophy books as a 12-year-old because I thought they were the only people that were doing interesting stuff, and I love them. I love reading philosophy, especially Marcus Aurelius. Not because Meditations is a good book. That book is really dumb. However, it's so funny reading his diary, essentially, because he'll have a really profound thought, and then he'll undermine it a second later. And I'm like, man, what a guy. What a guy you are.
Well, I'm going to write that down for myself as well. Like Marcus Aurelius. Is that the name? I'm going to
Marcus
take
Aurelius,
note.
yep. Meditations.
Yeah,
Very, very funny philosophy book.
lovely. Well, anyways, thank you so much. This is really fun, and I learned a lot about acting and film and your side of the world. So yeah, thank you so much, and I will hopefully see you at Youth Theatre soon.
Hopefully.
If we're there next week. So hopefully I will see you. Anyways, ciao. Tschüss.
Tschüss. Auf Wiedersehen.